So now we're gonna do something different. This is just gonna be me doing what is known as a Twitter crawl or an X crawl. I'm gonna go through these posts and kind of opine on what I think of them. I'm gonna skip the one by Elon Musk up here. This is just him being a goofball, which is kind of funny. More interested in the CBS News from my local station here in Maine. We have icy conditions possible for, I think they're saying Thursday into Black Friday. Yeah. So, oh boy, that'll be fun. Fortunately, however, my state, except for Portland, Maine is usually pretty rough on Black Friday, but the rest of the state, nah. They've expanded the Black Friday sales to be like a 2 week long event kind of thing in a lot of the stores. So we don't have that. We don't have mass chaos here in Maine. Now, if you go to other states that are near us, for example, New York, you probably would see it. Which I have an issue with New York, but we're not going to go there. But how does this play into the weather? Well, they're saying Thanksgiving week starts off with a lot of sun, but then turns active again Tuesday. We're also watching a potential nor'easter for Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Well, I guess that means I gotta go get the snowblower on the porch. Out of the garage. You gotta go dig it out and make sure the battery's charged and all that fun jazz. Yeah, we use an electric snowblower. It's just. Alright, so when it comes to most of my yard utilities, it's kind of a toss up. I like gas because of the power. But if you're snowed in, it's kind of hard to get gas. Conversely, if you lose power during the winter, it's hard to recharge a battery. So I kind of had to leave the fuel usage, what type of fuel it uses, up in the air. And I went with the electric one because it was a lighter weight snowblower that I could, more easily wheel around the dooryard. Dearborn Denim. Interesting. Fury in Memphis after attempted murder suspect who ambushed FedEx employee walks free without bail. Huh. Okay. I would be interested to know who that judge is, and yeah. And this, I would be interested to know other facts around that case. Oh, here we go. We're gonna new tab this one. Game developers then. I coded Roller Coaster Tycoon entirely in assembly so it can run on most machines. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to read all of those, but yeah, that's basically true. Like, if you want to read it, it's big enough. Full screen it and pause the video and read it for yourself. But yeah, that's mostly true. AAA games kind of. Yeah, that's a good question. Where is Kamala Harris? I'm not really going to make this into a political video, but it's almost like she's running from something. This is a good question. Well, when you make. Alright, I think Asmongold kind of had this one pretty well tamped down earlier. When you trot people out that are considered freaks by society, and society calls them freaks, you should not be surprised by the reaction. Just in general. Now, I'm sure these people are really nice in their private lives. I don't know them. But Um, the problem is that Jaguar. The real problem here, I don't think, is the ad itself. Well, it is the ad itself, but it's more of a who's this ad for kind of question. Um, Jaguar is a this is an expensive luxury vehicle. You pay for a Jag. In my opinion, as an auto mechanic, you pay for a Jag because you're compensating for a lack of something betwixt your legs or betwixt your ears. Um, you're either trying to compensate for not having something that'll please a woman, or you are very bad at making financial decisions and therefore decided to take, hundreds of thousands of dollars to dump into a vehicle when you should be investing it into like real estate or kind of pick a thing. Um, so, yeah. That's money that you should be using to prepare yourself for the oncoming nuclear Armageddon that's coming our way, basically, is effectively what I'm saying here. Solar panels, reinforcing your home, making sure your food supply's up, making sure that you got all the clean water that you're going to need or the ability to clean said water, you know, the important things. Making sure maybe you have a couple copies of whatever religious literature you subscribe to. In my case, having a couple extra Bibles handy is not a bad thing. Um, so yeah, I really like. I don't think very many rich white people are into that. Like that's, it's fine that you want to try to attract a different audience to your vehicles, but like you kind of are putting the cart before the horse when you do stuff like this because you really need to have a vehicle that people can afford, right? Don't come out with an advertisement that is advertising to the sub $10,000 crowd when all your vehicles are a couple $100,000. I mean, just kind of common sense. Huh. Well, that's a weird headline. Residents of mobile homes are the most vulnerable heat population to heat related deaths. I mean, it makes kind of makes sense. Trailers are not really built the greatest. Wait, is this real? Wait. Is this real? Okay, well, I will be looking into that. So I have to kind of cut that because of, YouTube censorship and also common decency. Eh, it has to do with some protests in France, and they're doing some very inappropriate things. Dude's getting pimp slapped. Yeah, that's true. It's a meme, and it's also the truth. Well, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're an idiot. I'll leave it up to your imagination as to which one I'm talking about. If you want to figure it out, go look through my channel. Interesting idea. I made a video about this already. Oh, no, 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 no. Dude, okay.
The AP has just broken some new news. This has just come out from the Associated Press. This is incredible. Trump administration officials have been sending babies and other young children to at least three. Put up the graphic of this. Thank you. Do we have it? No. Three tender age shelters in South Texas. Lawyers and medical providers. Just I think I'm gonna have to hand this off. Yeah. The AP.
Yeah. See, this woman is a massive hypocrite. See, she did that because she thought she was going to get a reaction about Donald Trump doing something bad, right? And then she got caught with her britches around her ankles. Um, and now she did the same thing. Now that she realized that in a couple of months, there's a strong possibility she could be out of a job. See, this woman is the definition of a grifter. She literally just went with a left wing grift because she thought it was profitable. And now that she knows that she's made a terrible business decision after making enough money, by the way, if I made the amount of money she did, I'd probably never have to work a day in my life because that's how I choose to live. You don't need to own a Lamborghini. Alright, that's a want, not a need. Go buy a Honda. You know what I mean. Or better yet, take a little bit of extra money and go get a 400,000 mile Toyota truck. Something that will live that long. If you're going to spend money on a new vehicle, at least make sure it's a new vehicle that's going to last. Anyway, so now that she might be out of a job, now she's all upset. And she appeared upset in this video when she thought Donald Trump was going to do something bad, but as it turns out, no. They were separating the kids from their quote unquote parents to put in abuse shelters because they were being abused. Oh, imagine that. Gee, you abuse your kids and you're a U.S. citizen. You don't get to keep your kids now, do you? She's brain dead. I call her Mad Cow Mad Owl for a reason. She does not have any capability for any serious critical thought. If it's not on the script, so she can just kind of act it up and act for the camera, it's just not something there's just no point to her because it's not what gets her money. Yes, absolutely. Take the view down, put something better. Better yet, expand the actual news hour with, like, the weather. Because I feel like that's more informative than The View. Well, I mean, they're in the process of effing around and finding out. Yeah, this has been a problem in Lewiston for a while. I'm not sure if I can show this meme, but it is pretty funny. I think I started something here. The amount of people that want this to happen is incredible. Yeah, Don Jr. Actually, we do want it to happen. Like, it's not so much that I have an issue with the NBC brand. I actually used to like the brand as a kid because they'd have good shows on. But now it's like all the good shows are gone. They embraced this, I don't know, this psychotic ideology of my political opponents are a threat to my very existence, and now, almost out of some sick self fulfilling prophecy, coincidentally, it is going to cost them their very existence online. So, you know. Yeah, Sassafras, that's a very good question. You're telling me that Biden couldn't run for office because he's not mentally competent, but he's allowed to make decisions about sending missiles into Russia that could start a world war. According to the Democrats, yes. Yeah, I'm with Chad on that one. I'm not going to stop to reread that. For your information, in this image, white people tried to save a black man from a rival African tribe. Yeah, that this I don't know if this person has a. I think this is a Twitter account. They need to be community noted, like hardcore for that. I mean, that's impressive, but like poor cat. True. No one cares. Okay, I saw this from DC Drano earlier. He's actually pretty spot on. You guys had all these like big talking heads, right? Like you had the best of the best. And then you went even further left and lost them because you wanted to embrace the insane ideology of the extreme left. Stone tossers. I don't know if I can. I'll show it anyway. I don't care. Um, check out this art. AI art I made. You mean like you mean a machine made while he's using a giant friggin' camera? Yeah. Yeah. I no comment. Yep. And I don't know if this really is actually Jerome Powell, but just like saying that so that way he can be on Twitter and be a jerk, or if this is someone trolling. But this meme is accurate. And it coming from Jerome Powell really has a lot. If it was, really would have more impact. I mean, hey, some people don't like to eat fish. Yeah, that needs to be looked at. Like, heavily needs to be looked at. It's been 2 weeks pretty much since the election. Actually, well, yeah, no, it's been, when this was done up, that was the 23rd. What was it? The 5th of November. It's been 20 days since the votes were cast. So, like, it's been 2 weeks. If you haven't gotten your shit in order by now, you need to be looked at. Okay, that's ridiculous. I want more information about this, but I think this is a violation of that right that they had about food that we had literally put in um, to our state constitution. Oh boy. Let's see what Anna has to say. It actually reads as something interesting. Hang on.
And so I'm like, like trying to get his bicycle like up the stairs, and all of a sudden this man stops me. His name's Jeff, and he's like, "Hey, let me help you out with that." And he starts helping me out. He stopped everything he was doing to help me out, and then Jeff and I became very close. You know, one of my neighbors who I really like, he was my favorite person in the entire building. And years go by. One day we're in an HOA meeting, homeowners association, and one of our one of the people living in the building said something about Trump that was negative. I don't remember what it is. And Jeff whispers in my ear, "Oh, she's gonna start trashing Trump. I'm out of here." And it hit me that he's a Trump supporter. We had never talked about politics before. And I'm like, so I got to know Jeff before I knew what his politics were. Incredibly kind guy. He helps everyone in this building with anything they might need. And so that woke me up to, wait a minute, not all Trump supporters are like dangerous, evil individuals. And yes, it was stupid that I thought that to begin with. Like, I'm embarrassed admitting that, but it's just how I believed. And that kind of was one of the moments where like a light bulb went off. And
She came to the light. That's her coming to light story for that. Okay, so I think a lot of people have it twisted because they see Twitter and YouTube and they think, "Oh my God, are people really acting this way?" No. Well, yes and no. The people who are let's see, the United States is a population of about what 338-ish million people. The amount of people who voted were half of that, and 10% of that half. So you're probably talking about a couple 100,000, like, maximum. And I'm not including like the and that's just in general, right? And it breaks down even further when you go into the people who are just doing it for, online fame. I could probably do a whole separate video about this topic, but like they'll just go on there for narcissistic purposes, trying to get clicks and views on TikTok because they're paid to do that. Just like I'm paid. Oh well, hopefully going to be paid for doing YouTube content at some point. But like, um, it's literally just spurging out for attention, pretty much. And sure, it's a way to get views or whatever. It's the newest controversy that you can put your name behind and get a lot of people to look at your content. It makes you look like a moron and a psychopath, but hey, it still gets the views and the occasional subscriber. That's the mentality of the people who are spurging out on TikTok. There is no legitimate outrage behind it. It's just like the Tide Pods joke or any of that stuff. It's not. There is no. The legitimate 4B movement is in Korea. Our version of the 4B movement is not a legitimate movement. It's just a bunch of uh, social media influencers who are trying to get people to watch their stuff, and they figure that the more shocking they can be, the more content they can, they can put out and get paid for it. That's what that is in a nutshell. And I'm gonna get hate for that in the comments. I don't really care, but because it's the truth. They are narcissistically piggybacking off of political stuff, our nation's health and well-being in order to further their own personal profit margins, basically. I'll roll my eyes at it and say whatever. Go do what you want. We don't care. Um, I mean, we care because you look like an idiot, but whatever. Um, the fact. Here's kind of how I look at that whole situation. I'll cover this part a little bit briefly. If I can get paid for doing YouTube, Twitter, X. Sorry, Elon. As much as I hate to say it, it's always going to be Twitter in the back of my head. Anywho, maybe Facebook does it. I'm not sure, but the R word that we're not supposed to say on YouTube because that could get us in trouble, and all these other platforms, no matter what you do for an industry, right? You could be a logger and there's still going to be a bad actor in logging, right? You could be a soldier, there's still going to be the not good version of the 4E Mafia. There's good cops and bad cops. Well, in the same way, there's good social media influencers, and then there's bad social media influencers. Now, the term good and bad in that context could mean any number of things, but in this context, I'm talking about the ethics of it. Ethically speaking, the bad social media influencer is going to go out and find shock content and do shock content because they want the views and they don't care about, who gets caught up in their basically attempt to pursue money, right? But that is true for any industry out there, or any business, or heck, law enforcement has it, science has it, the entirety of the legal system actually has a version of this too. Everything you do has a version of this. It's like the ultimate piece of reality. And as a Christian, this is true as well. Point in fact, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. A Christian can bring a soul to God, but they can't make them accept God. That is up to the soul. That is ultimately a decision at the end of the day for them to make. I could bring out the big guns, right? The Strong's biblical encyclopedia, the 10 different versions of the Holy Bible, and I could bring up an actual biblical scholar onto this channel and go on for weeks and months and years on the whole Bible, right? With the utmost absolute scientific proof that these things actually happened. But at the end of the day, okay, at the end of the day, it is up to the person themselves about what they choose to believe or not. And there are going to be people who are going to be like, oh, well, gee, that makes sense. But then there's going to be people who are like, I don't care. It still doesn't make sense to me. Okay? Those people exist. They always exist. A good example of this is a woman who is probably going to end up being my mother-in-law. She hated Trump. Well, first she loved Trump, then she hated Trump. And now she still hates Trump, even though, he's actually angling to do some good stuff if the Republicans don't stop most of the stuff he's trying to do, which they're going to because they don't like what he's trying to do because it implicates them in potential criminal activity. Fun fact. When you accept money from someone to do something politically, it's called a political bribe. even if it does go through a PAC. And that will be looked at very carefully, I think. No, you can't do that because it's legally protected. Where is that written in law? You just assumed that it was. No one ever agreed to that. A bribe is still a bribe. And I'm pretty sure the Supreme Court would agree with me on that point. Yep. And you know who you are. Miss, I work for your state. Which, by the way, if you work for my state and I voted for you and I pay taxes, that means you effectively work for me now, doesn't it? Which means that I get to, as a citizen, I get to air my grievances about your job performance and demand an audit of your financial incomings related to your performance at work. Don't I? I get to see if maybe you're sabotaging because you're getting money from people, don't I? Gee. It almost sounds like something we should look into. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad to see that people like this are coming around because, not everyone. We didn't vote for the next Hitler. Trump is not the next Hitler. Get over it. Get over your overinflated opinions and just accept the fact that he's going to be your president for 4 years. It's 4 years. We just got done. You know what? It's high time someone said it. From the time I was born, I was stuck under Bill friggin' Clinton as my president. I didn't have any choice in the matter because I was a child. And then I was stuck under Bush. My dad voted for Bush and was basically singing his praises for the first time Bush went through. Well, at the end of that all, we all regretted having Bush, my dad included, because Bush was basically more Bill Clinton, but worse. See, Bill had his personal failings that did kind of reflect badly on his office. Which is not necessarily a good thing. But Bush's failings? Oof. I mean, yeah, I get it. Waco and stuff like that happened, I think happened under Clinton. I'm not sure. Someone get into the comments. Like, I know, basically my point is, every president has something bad that happens in their administration, and then they're usually judged by how they handle it, right? Trump was COVID, Obama was, Obama, and Bush was the war in Afghanistan. And Bill Clinton was all the interns. He was, by definition of the law, statutorily our wording because he was in a position of authority over them. Fun fact, okay? By the definition of the law, Bill Clinton was committing statutory R-word. But whenever he was doing it with an intern. Whether they were willing or not does not matter. It is the position of authority, and in the executive branch of our government, the highest seat of authority is the President of the United States. By definition, if you're the President of the United States, if they work in your building, you cannot touch, look, or even sniff in their direction. Because by definition, number one, that's not a function of the office, and number two, it's abuse of authority over someone under you, even if they're willing. Okay? You don't believe that? Well, look at every other government office, including previous presidents. Absolutely. Getting your knob polished is not a function of being the president of the United States. And 100% he should have been tried for it in a court of law. The problem was that it just never got to that point, and then everyone just kind of dropped it. You know, 56 quote unquote game self deletions might have something to do with that, but I'm not going to dip into that too far because then I'll have to put up the disclaimer of I'm not, actually I probably should, given that I mentioned the Clinton name anyway. I do not have suicidal tendencies. I do not have any serious illness. There is no way on God's green earth that I'm going to game end myself, and everything I own is perfectly safe and incapable of harming me as a person at my own hand or by accident. So, if within the next 2 months you see a quote unquote accident, you should really be looking at my brake lines on my car. Just a thought. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Just should be said, I think. Um. But no, at the end of the day, um, this is absolutely going to be a good thing for people to realize that politics are not as encompassing in your daily lives as you've made them out to be. Okay? Yes, it is the future of our country. Yes, it does have an effect on your daily life. No, it is not worth giving up your family and friends because they disagree with you on political stuff. No, you shouldn't be doing this for religion either. Unless they're being like extremely toxic to the point where they've obviously made it clear that them hazing or being verbally abusive to you over the subject is just more important to them than actually being a good friend or family member, then you know what to do, right? But like sitting here screaming up and down because you can't kill your baby is it's mental illness at its finest, basically. And it is performative. I would argue that a good 75 to 80% of the ones that are on TikTok doing it, it's all performative. And I know this is performative. Because I live in a Democrat state. Well, correction. I live in a conservative state that's stuck dealing with coastal Maine and Portland. That's a better way to put that. So, but we still have Democrats here. Don't misunderstand me. They still exist, right? And we still talk. We're still friendly. It's like, they aren't shaving their heads or putting in that stupid septum ring that totally needs to have a 9-volt wire to it. Yes, I'm a cruel bastard. And most of the people here who have that piercing are not batshit. They're pretty normal people. Most of the people doing this are online chasing clout. Do they agree that they don't like Donald Trump? Sure. Do I disagree with them? Absolutely. Do I think that their opinions of Trump are based off of a media bias that they had shoved in their throat by a combination of the old school, the Young Turks, and MSNBC and CNN and all these other people who, didn't actually take the time to read the real policy platform, instead pushed Mark Elias's false document that needs to be called out as false? Sure. Do I know that? Yeah. Do they know that? No. And it's because they don't know that and are unwilling to accept the fact that they were conned into voting for someone who would have flushed us right straight into World War III, which we might actually be heading there inevitably anyway because of Joe Biden. But, I don't know. I feel like there is a red line that you can cross with Putin to cause nuclear Armageddon. That's kind of a no-brainer. But I kind of feel like there's a part of him that's like, okay, yes, I have to have this policy, but it's just 2 months. If we can survive 2 months of this decrepit corpse who's basically owned and operated by the military industrial complex and a death cult that seems dead set on, causing nuclear Armageddon, then we can have someone reasonable to talk to about things and we might actually be able to de-escalate, right? Like someone who can actually negotiate. And I kind of feel like that's where Putin's head's at. I mean, I could be wrong. He could be totally, evil madman from like a James Bond movie or something. But like, I don't know. I don't see him really as a super villain-y kind of guy. And I could be wrong on that assessment, but like sitting here saying that he's Snidely Whiplash twirling his evil mustache in the background while the world is going to get run over by a nuclear train, doesn't seem very realistic. Like, I really don't think anyone in the world, when they've actually looked at what the projections for nuclear war looks like he has, and every United States president since nuclear weapons were invented, really don't think anyone's really thought that way. I think it's just something that they throw around as like the hot potato or the rain stick that gets passed around so you can speak kind of thing. It's more of a bargaining tool at this point, I believe, than an actual like something that people want to do. This is just my crazy opinion. All right, crazy ass hot take of the video. Okay, we're 32 minutes into it. I'm gonna wrap it up quickly. Nuclear weapons have effectively become the pole of like national leaders. Would you rather sleep with a fat ugly chick or detonate this nuke in your own backyard? Right, like that's what it kind of feels like to me at this point. It's a lot of saber rattling and it's a lot of nonsense that really shouldn't be happening. And if someone like me were president, someone would come up to me waving their, rattling their saber saying, "We're going to blow you up with nukes and blah, blah, blah." And I just sit there and like, okay, STFU, sit down and actually tell me what you really want and why you want it and what you need it for, okay? Lay down the price tag of what you're willing to pay for it or what you're willing to give up for it to happen, and we'll have that discussion. Don't come at me with this stupid nuke stuff. It's like the big ask thing. Don't bother with the big ask with me. Just come up to me and say, "This is what I want you to do." I prefer more honest and direct approaches than this whole, ugh. So one thing about Trump I don't like is this business strategy, and it's effective, and it's always effective, but I still don't like it. Okay? I don't like it because when someone wants something from me, I want, like, the first time they ask me, I want to know exactly word for word what it is. The second they ask, the second they need it. Not, "Oh, well, you're asking for something that's like 20 to 30 times bigger than what we're even talking about here to try to put me at ease." Don't put me at ease. Tell me what you want. In the case of this instance, Russia obviously wants to take over Ukraine. Um, they're not going to get Ukraine as a whole, right? But maybe splintering off, or hey, maybe creating a hard border, like, I don't know. Well, a wall, I don't think a wall would really appease Putin that much, but like, maybe a ravine? I don't know, I think that'd probably be pretty environmentally destructive. I don't know, we'd have to have a discussion about what it would be, but some kind of barrier between Russia and, like, the rest of the world, right? Like, give them the piece of Ukraine that they want, put some kind of physical barrier between Russia and Eastern Europe, and just leave it at that. Man, I hate to bring up video games like this, but like, I really wish we had access to a weapons platform like the Hammer of Dawn, because then we could just like carve a straight line, like, yeah, this is what you get. Uh, you know, yeah. Here's this big river that connects two oceans that shouldn't be connected, totally throwing off the temperature balance in the you know, in the oceans, killing millions of fish and destroying probably most of the Black Sea in the process, right? But I mean, if it was physically possible of doing something along those lines, and then just put up like a drone defense net to keep weapons from going either way, yeah. I'm sure if you isolated Russia off, number one, I'm sure their isolationism would probably lead to their downfall. But number two, I'm pretty sure most of the nuclear saber rattling would probably disappear. Like, 100% sure of that. Anyway, I'm not going to make this a 40-minute video. I still have to make my breakfast. All I had was 2 waffles with all natural, unfiltered honey on top of them. So, like, I haven't had, like, any protein or anything. If you like the content, this has been an attempt to do a Twitter crawl, or an X crawl, or whatever we're going to call it. I know it kind of looks desperate, but, like, content, man. We actually have plans for better outside content in the works. Just kind of working out some of the finer details. It'll probably be starting about April or March. I don't want to do that over the winter because of like health and safety things, and I really don't want like YouTube to demonetize my channel over me doing something stupid in the middle of winter. We might do, actually, there might be some outdoor content we can do during the winter, but it'll probably be very basic, like snowball fights or something. We'll think of something. We always do, but like, you know, yeah. Subscribe if you like the content. If you don't have to subscribe, but maybe leave a comment. I love criticism, even if it is bad. Well, bad criticism is still productive in a way. At least in the form that it can be entertaining. Anyway, peace.